resort to the Checkatrade voter out and staying with the same format?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, we actually voted for the original format, which was the 48 teams from League One and League Two. The 66% or whatever of League One and League Two clubs actually voted for the existing format, and I think partly that's financially driven, if I'm honest. But we felt that at the time that going back to the originals, the format of it for the 48 teams was probably a requirement. It was the best option on the table. There was a few clubs even voted to scrap it as well, but there were quite a few clubs voted with us at the same time. But we just have to accept that's the point in the EFL, that if most of the clubs feel that's the right thing to do, then we just go ahead and before and hopefully try and make a success of it, which is the most important thing.
EFL said they're going to look at the option and do a little bit of changes to it to make it better, so I guess that's a positive.
Yeah, there were quite a number of discussions were carried out at Walsall recently at an EFL meeting of League One and League Two clubs, which I attended, and there were a number of things that the clubs brought up, whether that was things like playing full strength teams to try and make it easier for everybody to accommodate. There's lots of bits and slight changes which hopefully will tweak it. The regionalisation, it's not quite clear from what the EFL have come out whether they were talking about trying to make it more regionalised, which was obviously the one that hurt us really badly last season. But what they were trying to do was maybe not make it like two clubs from League One and one club from League Two, and just make it purely regionalised. So potentially you could have three clubs from League One all in the one group, because it allowed them to have the flexibility to try and make it very regionalised. So it isn't quite clear from the voting of how that's come out, what they've decided to do in that. But hopefully, as long as it's more regionalised and provides a better what we had last year, we're going to Scunthorpe and Middlesbrough, hopefully it'll be a turning point.
One of the changes as well, that the Premier League teams or the bigger teams will play away from their stadiums, which is a bit strange.
Well, I didn't agree with this at the time, and I'm still quite perplexed. There was a vote of hands at the meeting at Walsall that I spoke about, and practically everybody voted for the class, the one Academy One teams to play away from home, which I thought, well, that was a bit nuts, because do you know what, I think for even our young players or whoever part of the young players in League One and League Two teams, to be able to play at maybe one of the bigger teams' away grounds is probably a great experience for them. We're talking about development, but I think that's a bit one-sided. We're actually only looking at developing the academy players rather than looking at actually developing perhaps some of the younger players that are playing in League One and League Two. So that's a bit disappointing that that we're going to have it's great to have hopefully a bigger team coming to Greenhouse Meadow, but at the end of the day I think it's also we're looking at long-term development, and my feeling always was that teams should, it would be a better experience for our young players to go and play in a bigger stadium to experience that, which is better for their development. But I think we've been a bit strange by not really looking after the League One and League Two clubs for some reason. But again, everybody else voted for it, so maybe I'm wrong.
And some clubs have been critical of the Premier League so far and the solidarity payment and how this has been presented to them. Yeah. I suppose that solidarity payment is becoming more important to the lower league clubs.
Well, it's the way it's going. The solidarity payment is one that my understanding is that the Premiership clubs don't necessarily need to forever pay this to the League One clubs, but it's becoming more of a portion of the payments that the League One and League Two clubs get. The basic award used to be far higher that the EFL gave us than what the solidarity payment, but the solidarity payment has gone up quite a bit over the years to get us to the 1.3 million that we get now for a League One club. So it is one of these ones. It's a very difficult one that I think they're tied in for a certain number of years, but which isn't that long. So obviously that's the slight issue for all clubs going forward, that from a cash flow point of view, it's trying not to upset their own cash flows if we upset the Premiership.
One other thing as well with this under 21 Premier League teams in the EFL, that a lot of fans are still wary of the B teams in the back door, but it's something that we don't back.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, it was actually discussed at the EFL meeting, and I know it wasn't going to be discussed, but one of the clubs brought it up and asked, look, let's just get this on the table. Is there any movement for getting B teams, if you like, in the Football League, and it was met with complete derision by everybody in the room. So there is no doubt, whether it's my opinion, but it's everybody's opinion in the EFL League 1 and League 2 clubs, that at this stage there's certainly no appetite for any clubs, and it was very clear back to the EFL. Not that they brought it up, to be fair, because I think they've realised that all the clubs are against it, and obviously the supporters are all against it, which is the main thing as well.
Spoken to Paul about it this morning, and he said it's a competition he wants to go in and win. So again, that's a positive from the playing side.
Yeah, I think when you see the opportunity, you just had to look at the final this year with Coventry and Oxford, and you look at the numbers there to play at Wembley. What an experience for not just the players but also for the fans as well. It would be fantastic for us to go all the way. And that obviously is an incentive, and it's probably going to be our best chance of winning a trophy. So there's a real incentive there to go and do well, and hopefully Paul seems quite switched on about trying to have a successful tournament, so hopefully it will go well.
Wednesday as well, we've got the very sad news about Chris Smith passing on, and a great man. Yeah,
I mean, because I've known Chris since I came here last February, and it's a relatively short time, but we spoke probably every week or emailed at least 2 or 3 times a week, so it's a massive shock, and a very sad loss to his family and everybody at the football club. Everybody knows Chris, probably the most best known Shrewsbury Town fan there is, and it was right that he was brought in as a legend. Became a legend because he really was. He did the work he did for the football club, and everything for the coaches and everything for the supporters. He was just a really genuine person who just wanted the best for Shrewsbury Town, which I think we're all still quite in shock that unfortunately to hear that sad news on Wednesday. I spoke to his son yesterday, and obviously conveyed all our condolences from the club. It's obviously a very difficult time for the family, and we're all obviously thinking, our thoughts are very much with Sylvia and the family just now.
A lot of talk from supporters about a fitting tribute to him. I guess it's something the club would look into with the family.
Yeah, I think it's probably too early to even be thinking too much about that, but I think we all know what a huge man he was to everybody at the club and everything he did, and we'd like to do something, so it's certainly something we need to think at the right time, if obviously subject to the family, and we'll certainly get our thinking caps on and see what the best scenario would be to provide the best fitting tribute, subject to his family being okay with it.